I guess we're in time. So thank you for coming. I haven't been expecting more than 3 people to show up, so I'm really stressed. So many people here. Okay, so I'm gonna make a 67 slides in 15 minutes, so it's gonna be a challenge for me. And I'm gonna make a social session, and I've never done it because I'm a techie guy. So one first disclaimer: we're not talking about freelance on this session. We're talking about, well, remote full-time employees. So as agenda, for 15 minutes, we'll skip this one since we're breaking the rules. And actually, the idea of breaking the rules is the idea of 21st century. So everything has changed now, and even the way we work has changed dramatically, I believe. So as you see, we're going to talk about remote work right now as a solution to a current problem, I would say. And you may say that actually not every work can be remote. And probably you will be right, yes. Maybe that's a good example. But not exactly. Even now we have a very good idea to utilize robots and remote works even for this type, for example, like surgery. You will be surprised, but there are several airports which are controlled absolutely remotely by a different country or city. That made me actually a little bit scary. So, and you will probably believe that programmers and software developers are just perfect to be remote. So, and most of us believe that, you know, typical programmers' day may look like this, and you got a lot of money for that without actually doing not so much things. So you work whatever you like, you do whatever you like, you are free to travel, horrible bosses are far away from you, well, you have to work when your muse is just to come. So student programmers truly believe that this thing comes out of the box for them. But you'll be surprised it's not like this. Or actually, maybe if you work like this, it's not the same. So to be like this, you really have to be smart. These benefits, you have to gain them. If somebody has tried to work from home, before that, for more than a year, I've actually started in the office, demonstrate a lot of discipline, demonstrate a lot of, liability to your boss. You are in a position that to be able to use the remote work as an option, you have to gain it. And to gain this thing, you really have to be predictable. So if you demonstrate predictability in your work, you will gain a lot of trust. And actually, to gain this trust, this is all you need to be able to work remotely. But we're in the position when you just cannot do this. Just because, for example, you cannot reach your office, or you just don't see, or you have something else that stops you from doing this. So you definitely don't have this first step when you can go to office and gain all this trust you need. So my idea, and the idea of this small quickie, is that you should be given a chance to do this. So you still have to be predictable, and still trust is all you need. So my deepest concern is that the biggest companies, the big companies actually, not just small one, nothing stops them from doing this. So in most cases, if you just talk to a company, let's say, okay, I'm in a wheelchair, I just cannot go to your office just because, for example, we have problems with transportation, we have problems with, exiting home. I believe that in Western Europe and Northern Hemisphere, in Northwest Hemisphere, these problems are not so much viable. But for countries like, for example, Eastern Europe or Asian region and so on, just reaching your work is almost impossible. So the companies should be able to give you this opportunity. So how do you achieve it in an efficient way, I would say? So you will be surprised, but there are really small things that you need for this. So just a messenger like Skype, like WhatsApp, like whatever, like something that can transfer voice, just texts and remote sessions like remote desktops connections, etc., etc. As some way to communicate in a formal way. For example, you have an issue tracker if you're working as a programmer, and some kind of a knowledge base which is widely, accessible from all of the remote connections, and a tool like Git or something like this, you are already set. That means this is a small set that actually enables a big I would say a big amount of really prospective programmers to join your company. The only thing you need is a really fast internet and a working VPN. This is something you'll be surprised. So I really have this at home, and this is not a problem. But for biggest companies, for big enterprises, this is a problem. If you are working remotely and your big enterprise actually foresees that most of the communications go internally, working VPN is an issue. So as for me, for example, I've worked for more than a decade in big companies. VPN was the first problem I ever had. So, and that was interesting because if, for example, you have more than one or two connections to your company, everything suddenly falls down. That's embarrassing, but that's true. Not all big companies have this ready. So, you'll be surprised, but most of the resources already are virtualized. So, as you come to your work, so you access all of the servers, you access all of the infrastructure remotely already. So nothing actually stops you accessing this thing from your home. And by the way, how many of you know that in most of the companies you have rooms like this? Anybody? Yes, just few people who actually ever used them. Nobody. Okay, 3 of you. I was deeply surprised that nobody from the company that I work now, from T-Systems, we have 3 of this room in our office, and actually most of the people don't even know they exist. So, and this room actually gave us a very good opportunity to interact. So a good idea is for you to choose, maybe you have this remote co-working space. So changing your culture a little bit may actually bring a lot of benefits to your company and to a lot of people. Because what if a company goes virtual? So you have a big distributed workforce. You've got a bigger geography of experts, by the way. So if you're no longer bound to a certain location, you can find experts all around the world. So you get a bigger influence areas. So, and of course, it's something like cost and time savings is good because nobody actually loses time in transportation. And in transportation, in modern days, we use more than, hours. I like it more for Germany. They're not in hours, but in kilometers. In Germany, people like to work in different city. So, by going remotely, you are allowing a lot of people, instead of standing in these crowds, just to work and not to travel and not to lose your time, because losing their time is losing your time. From the other side, maybe you will lose some social interaction, because there's a lot of, think like the spirit, the building of a team is coming directly in. Just, somebody heard something, somebody understood something from another, gave him example of or gave him solution. This loss of accidental communication is maybe a problem, but still it can be easily fixed just with an internal social network or flame chats or actually going to beer from time to time. Well, at a certain point, yes, your home may be ruined just because you're working from them. But this can also be easily solved by, for example, co-working spaces. If you cannot work from home and you're far away, so co-working is your option. Yes, and you see, the main idea of this remote working is all these human interactions are at some point removed. So this means, by the way, anyone gaming? Playing games? Do you know the people who are you gaming with? No. You actually just game. You have your enemy or you have your cooperative. You're working to solve this issue, to solve your problem. The same with open source. It's very hard someone to find the real person actually committing the code. It's somewhere in the world. You don't care. And in e-government, human, interaction is totally removed as, in terms of going. So you don't even need to know who are you communicating with. So the ultimate game is this. The remote work is the ultimate equalizer. So the remote work allows you not to think who is on the other side with whom you are cooperating. So at some point, you don't even need to know whether it's a boy or girl, is it black or white, what religion it. You just do your work, and you do it the most effective way. So there's a good success story here. It's, for example, a GitHub story. So that's, by the way, a very good session. So I will recommend it to you. So at some point, these people actually didn't know who they are, but they worked on what they wanted, where they wanted, and when they wanted. So, and then we have this awesome product, GitHub. People barely know each other, but they have created truly good product. So in Cisco's system, telecommuting saved about $277 million. So it was a big benefit for them as well. And they hired people with disabilities just because they didn't care who is on the other side. So try it. Your employees will love it. Make a small pool of these people who actually truly need it, because it will be more fun and you will really gain a lot of benefits. But to do this, hire doers and trust people you hire. So this trust is the very key. Don't start with, arguing. Just start with your trust. Don't micromanage them. Keep the communication asynchronous as possible, so you don't need to be always online, but you have to define your protocol on what you do. So if you respond, for example, in 2 minutes, or you respond in 5 minutes, or if you're green, you're always able to talk, and so on and so on. So define your protocol, and people will definitely love it. And you'll be surprised, but now you can even hire remotely. As by this movie, all the Skype interviews are just normal right now. And not only, you can even fire remotely, as watch another movie like Up in the Air. So you have all the benefits to do this, and nothing stops you. So just try this approach and give a chance to all these people who actually cannot be your employees. That doesn't mean they will, start, walking and seeing again, but all these groups of people will get back to work. This means it's a totally win-win situation. That means that you will receive really good employees which are willing to work. I had a chance to talk to Sir Richard Branson himself, and he gave a wonderful phrase about remote working and people that work for him. So if you give people the work they can't even imagine to have, they will become your best employees there. So one example I should mention, he said he went so much deep into remote working because he himself works remotely, that he even gave remote work for people in prison. They are not allowed even to go outside, but he gave work to people in prison, and they were one of his best employees. So remote work is one of the good solutions to people who actually cannot have work, and you are able to give them to him. It's just a small change in your culture, and by this small change, even in a small pool of this, you will be able to give chances and win yourself. So thank you very much. Hope you found it useful.